Hey everyone, so I'm going to do a lesson on lesson 7, which was factoring trinomials where a was equal to 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is read over the steps. So the first thing you want to do is identify a, b, and c in the trinomial ax squared bx plus c. Write down all your factors of pairs of c, and then identify which factor pair of the previous step sums up to b. And then substitute factor pairs into two binomials, a polynomial with two terms. So the first example is r squared plus 9r plus 18. So the first thing I'm going to do is identify my a, b, and c. Now this is really an unnecessary step. You really don't have to state it, but my a value is 1, my b is 9, and my c is 18. The most important thing is this 18 because that is what I need to manipulate. I need to know all the factors of 18. The factors of 18 are 9 and 2, 6 and 3, and of course 1 and 18. Okay, so once you have those written, the next thing you want to do is identify which factor pair sums up to b. So I want to add these, need to add up to b, which is 9 in this case. So I need to look at all my factor pairs. This one goes to 11. This one adds to 9. 6 plus 3 is 9. And this adds to 19. So I'm going to use this factor pair. Once I pick my factor pair, I'm going to split my trinomial into two binomials. So 6 and 3 are going to go here. I have r and r. I want to add to a positive 9, so my signs will be the same, and they will both be positive. Now also, a good way to figure out if your signs will be the same is by looking at the last term. If this is positive, your signs are the same. If you want to know what they are, you look at the first term. They're both positive. The next one, I am going to set it up first, and then I'm going to manipulate the c term. So first what I've noticed is that this is positive. So that means that my signs will be the same. And what will they be? They're both going to be negative. So I'm going to first put b minus, b minus. Remember, whatever b is, that's what you're adding to. That's negative 9. And whatever c is, that's what you're multiplying to. That's 14. So if I want to multiply to a positive, I can have a positive, positive, or a negative, negative. In this case, we're going with a negative, negative because we want to add to a negative 9. So I'm going to split up my factors of 14. My factors of 14 are 7 and 2. And in this case, they're both negative because I want to be adding to that negative 9. And actually, those are the factors I want because negative 7 plus negative 2 is a negative 9. All right, so this is my factored trinomial. And the next one, this one's slightly different because the last term is negative, meaning that my signs will be different. Because remember, this is the add multiply method. So if I'm multiplying to a negative, my signs need to be different. So when I make my two sets of parentheses, I'm going to have plus, minus. So now I'm going to state my a term, which is 1, my b term is negative 2, and my c term is negative 15. Now because I have a negative 15 as my c term, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split up all my factors of c with positives and negatives. So factors of c would be 5 and 3. I'm going to make this negative 5. You could also have 5 and negative 3. You could have 15 and negative 1 or negative 15 and a positive 1. So for this one, I want to add to a negative 2. This would add to a negative 2. This would add to a positive 2. This would be a positive 14. This would be a negative 14. So the one I want to choose is this. So my 5 will be negative and my 3 will be positive, and there's my factoring. The next one is exactly the same idea. The last term is negative, so I want to make sure that my signs are different. Okay, so my b term is a positive 1 and my c term is a negative 20. So the factors of 20 will be 2 and negative 10, or a negative 2 and a positive 10, a 4 and a negative 5, or a negative 4 and a positive 5, and of course you have 1 and negative 20, or negative 1 and positive 20. I want to add to a positive 1, so like this would add to a negative 8, this would add to a positive 8, this would add to a negative 1. This would add to a positive 1 because negative 4 plus 5. This would be a negative 19, and this would be a positive 19. So I want to use these factors because they give me that positive 1. So I'm going to have a plus 5 and a negative 4. And again, just as a side note, you could always check all your answers by using the box method or foiling to make sure that this is still that. All right, well, I hope this video helped you guys. I'll see you soon.